Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome into the channel. My name is Tony, and in today's video, we're going to be going over game settings in Out of the Park Baseball 26. We are going to be referencing my own settings in a save that we just recently started here on YouTube with an expansion team called the Raleigh Oaks. Don't worry though, this will be before episode 2 is out, so there should be no spoilers. But if you guys do enjoy this type of content with the tutorials and stuff, be sure to like the video because it helps boost it for the algorithm and other OOTP viewers, as well as comment down below if you would like to see any other tutorial videos. Thank you so much for watching, and let's hop straight into it. Alright, so we're into our save here, and we're just going to start from left to right going across the top. I know if you'll notice, like on every tab there's a settings option, and it can get quite overwhelming, but we're going to touch on every single one of these, and I'll give my input, as well as feel free to pause the video if you ever want to copy my settings. But yeah, so starting with the settings under the file tab, interface here, I like to play with the dark skin. You can change it to classic or light, and light is more of a white skin. Classic I think goes to more of like a paper yellowish texture. Display mode, I do play on windowed only because I do make videos, so it's easy for me to go over to my other monitor to my right and I don't have to alt tab often. But if you want to play on full screen, that's where you can change that. Window size, it is maximized. Font, you can change just whatever you like, but you'll notice for that to take effect you do have to restart your game. Font size is small. This obviously changes the size of the font on your main screens. I like small. It allows me to fit a lot more on my screens, so I enjoy that. Icon bar, show on the left. You'll notice my like home buttons, inbox buttons, and all that are over here on the left side. That's because I came from Football Manager before I ever played OOTP, and in that game it's on the left. It's what I'm used to, so I do always switch it to the left side. But if you want, you can even put it at the bottom, or you can just obviously keep it on the right. Dialogue background effect, I don't touch that, left it on darkened. Semi-transparent background is on yes. We'll touch on this a little bit more in a little bit, talking about background pictures. This here, if you don't like it to use the team colors, you'll see the green for our team colors. You can turn that off. Delay loading player images, I've never touched that. I haven't touched the rest of this other than player awards and profile. I have it at truncate at 1. What this does is, as soon as, let's say, Juan Soto wins an MVP, it's going to put 1 up there. Well, if he wins 5 MVPs, instead of having 5 different MVP icons on his profile, it's just going to have 1, but it'll put the number 5 beside it. Let's see if I can actually show that to you. Let's go to Juan Soto real quick, just to show how that looks. Okay, so yeah, see, so he's a 5-time all-star, right? Instead of it having 5 of these stars on his profile, it'll have 1 star but put the number 5 beside it, and if you hover over it, you can actually see the years. So that's what that means. If you prefer to have all the icons to show off the accolades a bit more, make it look a little bit more flashy, hey, feel free. You don't have to change that, but I like it at 1 just for easier readability. Player ratings bars, display bars, I have that. The rest of this I have not touched other than starting page after loading a game. So as soon as you load up your save, whatever page you want it to be on after it loads, it's not that big of a deal, but this is where you choose that at, and you'll see there's a bunch of different options here. Miscellaneous, I haven't touched this. I am in the US, so of course I have it on our metrics that we use primarily here in the US. So if you're from a different country, of course this is where you can change all of that to your liking. For 3D, I haven't changed much here. A lot of this is going to be primarily just for if you actually watch the games. I don't watch too many games. I might watch playoff games here and there and stuff like that, but yeah, this is mainly for that. This is where you can change the 3D animation speed, the size of the ball, and things of that nature. Face gen, I do change some stuff here. I do have it enabled, obviously. Face gen angles on random. This I change for face gen zoom and profile picture zoom. I do out more jersey. What this does, this makes it where in the profile pictures of the players, it pushes them backwards so you can see more of their jersey, which I just think is cool. Otherwise it just zooms in a bit more in their face and you can't see as much of it. Not that big of a deal, but I like it. This here, you can change the detail of the face gen pictures. Expert, I touched nothing here, I don't think. Just doing a quick look. Yeah, nothing here. I haven't touched anything there. Then of course troubleshooting, feel free to look at this if you're ever having issues, but I have touched nothing here. Moving on to game settings. So there's a lot, but we're going to touch it all. I do use the complete scouting system. This is on normal. I have the scout report history on keep all reports. Incorporate stats and scouting reports is on. Reports of retired players do delete. Current rating scale, I do use the 2080. I did mention I was from Football Manager before, and if you're like me and you've also played Football Manager for this game, maybe you like the 1 to 20 that Football Manager uses, so feel free. This is where you would change that. There's a few different options. Maybe you like more of the MLB The Show style or other sports games. You can use 1 to 100. But I like 20 to 80 because for those of you that don't know, in real life, the scouting system is a 20 to 80 scale. Over here for overall and potential, I do use the 20 to 80 with increments of 5. So instead of it just being 20, 40, 60, 80, they'll use like 45, 50, or 55, which makes it a little more accurate. Show ratings greater than max. So what this means is 80 would technically be the max in this case, right? If this is on, if someone, we'll just use Soto again, might as well, has higher than 80, it won't stop there. So see how it shows 85 for him? If I had this off, it would only show 80, which is fine still because 80 is clearly still good, but they could be better than that and you wouldn't see that, but they may obviously still play that way. But yeah, I have that on. Show overall ratings less than minimum, red stars. I have no cut off. I don't use stars, but I assume what this means is if you had it on yes and someone was less than the minimum overall, the stars will just turn red. This one's important. So all player ratings are displayed relative to, have it set to Major League Baseball. So that means even minor league players deep in your system, their ratings are relative to MLB. Now you can change that. Only have a few players in AAA. We haven't filled out our minors yet because we just recently in the first episode of this save did the expansion draft. If you'd like, you can check out the first episode before we drop the second one so you don't get caught up in any spoilers or anything of that nature. But yeah, you can come on to player profiles and click ratings relative to, and you can change it on the fly. So this is his ratings relative to MLB. The league he's in is the Pacific Coast League. You go Pacific Coast League and you can see he's pretty much average here or maybe slightly above average in AAA. But you want to toggle that back because there's plenty of people, you'll see it a lot around the community, post a picture and they'll accidentally have it on like, I don't know, rookie ball and be like, what the heck happened to my players? I looked and everyone's now 80s and they accidentally switched this, but that's where you can switch it back. But this is where for standard or like default, it'll be comparing them to Major League Baseball players. Another important setting is it says if you enable the next setting, then the overall potential rating of a position player is based on all players instead of just the players of the same primary position. So if this is on, it's comparing a player to everyone in the league, right? Or not just the league. It's, I assume, the entire database is the way I understand it. If you turn this off, it'll only compare second baseman to all other second basemen. It'll only compare catchers to all other catchers and so on. Which actually isn't a bad thing to experiment with, see if you like it, but I do have this on based on all players. Show BABIP on player pages. That references the BABIP bar here. It didn't used to be there like 2 years ago, I think, is when they first added it, or a year. Might have just been the last iteration. Either way, yeah, that's where you can change that if you turn that off. Use coaching system. I do have that on. Coach hiring from other teams. This is where if you want to allow yourself to be able to poach coaches from other teams that are currently already in a position, so not just free agent coaches, but also the AI can poach them from you as well. Include base coaches. That's where you change that if you don't want to. This is where you can generate new ones. Coach cohesion impact. I just have it on normal. If you want it to impact less or none, you can change that. Coaches do have personalities and things of that nature that can go into that. Coaching contract extensions allowed. I don't change that. I just leave it on allowed. Enable owner goals. So if you want, you can turn that off, but you can also, of course, leave it on. But this is where your owner gives you these goals each year. And if you don't want this, you can turn that off there. This is GM only users are always in control of lineups and hiring. So this is, let's say you don't want to do a save where you're also the manager. If you don't want to be the GM and the manager, right? You just want to be the GM. Well, sometimes you can actually hire coaches by mistake or on purpose that don't allow any control at all over the lineups or things like that. That's just, they give the coaches tendencies, so to speak. If you come in here and tick this, you can still have an input as a GM, even if you're in GM only mode and you're still hiring managers. Moving over to the autosave settings, I have it on once a month because I do sim in larger chunks. But you can put this on once a week, once a day. You can put it on however you like. Generating game recaps and stuff like that and saving 3D movements, this is kind of preference. I am saving 3D movements for human leagues, generate highlights for human teams, just because I do play, or I do make content for the game, so I want to be able to reference stuff if I have to. But this here isn't required. But it's up to you. I think saving box scores could be good in case you want to go back and reference a game or look at a stat line for a specific game and things like that. Transaction logs and injury logs, I do have the last 2 years because I like to check those out. Prospect rankings, if you want those to update dynamically, so more so on the fly, they're changing regularly, leave it on dynamic. If you want it once a year, you can keep it on annually. Preseason predictions I have on automatic. This is every year in the preseason, an option will pop up here to see the preseason predictions, and the game tries to give an outlook on how they think the next season is going to sim and pan out. This is where you can change that if you want it to be on demand or automatic. Storylines, I have those enabled. That's something you can mess around with. It is preference. You'll get the storylines of like such and such player went to visit a guru in India, and that's like a funny story in the community that can pop up. You'll see it around. People will be like, oh no, my guy visited a guru. Sometimes it can work out good, sometimes it can work out bad. It's not just those though. It can be different storylines where random things happen, like such and such with a charity, or I just saw the other day in an online league I'm in, a player retired because he gave his kidney to like his sister or something. Yeah, you can like it gets wild. You can turn this on or off here. I may end up turning it off, I'm not sure. This here I do not touch, but you can feel free to check it out. This will multiply the financial coefficient by 10 and so on, but I never mess with that. Players and team tab. I do have injuries on. If you don't like the amount of injuries you get, or you don't want them, of course you can turn it off. But if you want injuries and you want to tone it down, you can change it. This is for short injuries, this is for long. I have long on low. I may change this a little bit on the fly as we move through, just to see, because I do want it to be realistic, but I don't want it to be like overkill, if that makes sense. Delayed injury diagnosis, I just have this on occasionally. Sometimes I'll get injured and it's kind of pending of exactly what's going on. I guess trying to mimic real life where they have to maybe go get tests done and things of that nature. So you can change that if you don't like that. Hide injury rating. So what this does is players have their injury proneness on their page right here under status. If you go and you were to turn that off or tick it to hide it, what that'll do is you can no longer see that. So I guess in real life you can't really know a player's injury proneness. Like you kind of can if they have a bad injury history regularly, like looking at you, Anthony Rendon. But otherwise, yeah, I just have it on. You gotta be sure to actually find that again though, so I can change it. Enable suspensions. This is where if you want those on or off, they tend to happen the most in minor leagues, funny enough. I guess it's just because there's so many more leagues other than just focus on the MLB. But I do have those on for realism, but I kept it on. I'm gonna put it on very low. Use player personality ratings. So referencing again McKinstry, you'll see this is the player personality ratings right here. If I turn that off, these disappear. I do have it on. I can show you guys what would happen. I turn that off. Boom. Go back to McKinstry, and now nothing's here. Now, if you use the personality system where personalities actually have an impact on gameplay and how players act and doing stuff, I do recommend turning that on. But it's up to you if you don't want to be able to see that or not. I totally get it, but we're gonna turn that back on. Oh, and you can also, even after it's on, it might not show there. You come in and you tick this so it does show the player personality ratings on the page. This next one is talked about a bunch in the community, depending on the game year to year. This is where you can change how quickly players age, also known as regress, or how quickly they develop or progress or get better. You can change that here. Right now, mine's on default. I may change the aging speed down to like 0.950 for batters and pitchers, but I'm not sure. I think we're gonna roll default. I like to gauge the community's interest. You guys let me know in the comments some of your settings and how they compare to mine and what you change differently and some things you found that are cool that you do. That way other people in the comments can reference those as well and maybe try it out, and even myself. Development target age, I'm gonna leave this on default. I think this changes how what age or what time period they're going to reach their full potential. But I'm going to leave it on default and aging target age. I guess instead of changing aging speed, you could change it to much older or older. I kind of wish it had a year here. So we knew what older and much older means exactly. Like, does this mean 30 and like 40, you know? But I'm gonna roll default just to be safe. But I assume just like with development target age, aging target age, probably specifies the exact time period that they actually start regressing. Talent change randomness, also known as TCR in the community. I'm gonna keep it on default. But this is, the higher it is, the more often is the way it's viewed. This dictates how much a player who could be like, I don't know, 30 overall, 30 potential, might randomly see a jump overnight to like 50 overall, 50 potential. They may become a god, or they may, there's also the counter side of it where they're a 50-50 guy may become like a 20-25 guy. He could regress. But yeah, the higher that is, the more likely it is to happen. You'll see 100 is average, 1 is minimum, 200 is max, 0 is disabled. I'm gonna keep it on 100 because it'd still be cool for it to happen, but 100 is average. This is if you want to disable player development altogether. Not sure why you'd ever do that, but maybe there's a reason. Disable player development lab. I will be using the development lab, so I don't want to disable that. The development lab is the feature that's available every offseason where you can send players into the development lab and have them work on specific parts of their game. Display lab specific rating changes in completion email. I do have this on. Oh, and also this is where you can change how many players you can send to the development lab, as much as 30 or as little as 1. I'm rolling with the default 8 for now. May end up changing it around. But display lab specific rating changes in completion email references, once you receive the email saying how good they did or bad, if they did well, it'll tell you exactly what changed. If you have this ticked in the email, it'll tell you. Program improvement magnitude and overall program difficulty. If you want your players to complete programs more often, you can make this less difficult. Program improvement magnitude, whenever they do complete it and do well in it, if you want it to be larger jumps in attributes, this is where you can change that, or smaller. But we're rolling default on both. Disable player developmental focus. If you tick that, that will make it where you can not do the development sliders right here. This will make this tab disappear altogether. You won't be able to see this. So yeah, if that's where you change that. Now in turn, you have development focus influence. This changes how much those sliders impact their game. If you want it to be higher or lower, this is where you do that. Moving to the top right though, stat settings, delete players who never reached majors. I don't have that ticked, and don't reuse player IDs. I don't touch this. I do mess with this a little bit. Keep career left right splits. I have it set to major league stats only, and keep career batter versus pitcher stats. It could be cool to have that on, but I mean, to be honest, I just have it on keep none. But yeah, I do like to see the rest of this stuff. Face gen, I do have it set to all players. It's ticked for load face gen photo fit files automatically. That may be the default, but I'm not sure. Create player face gen pictures upon player creation, so they will get a face gen photo as soon as the player is like created into the game. I have it set to update the pictures on the January 1st each year. I mean, I don't guess it really matters. You can even do one status update. Let's assume a dude's upset at the moment. I guess maybe it'll give him more of a frown or mad face up there in the corner, but it's on January 1st. Coach face gen pictures and I have it on all coaches, scouts, and managers. I have it on all. I want everybody to have a photo. I just enjoy it for the realism and like immersiveness aspect. This stuff I did not touch. I think you can change the color of the faces, like black and white. Let's say you're playing a historical save. That can be kind of cool to change the filter on the photos. And have no background on the pictures. Enable away and alternate uniforms. I have that on. Free agents wear suits. I do have that on. So what that means is all the free agents will have a suit on instead of some kind of MLB uniform. Enable baseball cards, I do have that turned off. Load player picture files, that was already ticked like that. I haven't touched it. Now, let's say you don't have pictures or you change some of these settings for whatever reason. This is where you can update the /generate all player pictures. And you can do the same for coaches as well. You come and click this. It can take like a few minutes sometimes. So just keep that in mind whenever you decide to do that. Up here, I guess you can do it. Yeah, this is Major League specific face gen functions. So if you don't want to do it for every coach and every player in the game, you just want to touch on the MLB side of things, this is where you can generate it for them. Okay, AI settings. I have the trading difficulty all the way up, but tick down one, and I have the favors veterans / prospects in the middle. This is just how I like to use it. A lot of this is judged, especially the trading difficulty, is judged off of community feedback, according to how hard or how easy it may be. But I also like to set house rules for myself anyway, which I'll be doing in this save, where I don't like to cheese the AI or anything like that. I like to try and keep it as real as possible. Use hard mode for trading. You can tick this. It tells you here what it does. Trading hard mode adjusts the trading model so that you will not receive feedback from the opposing GM until you submit the offer. You will not be able to use a make this work now button either to help a deal along, and will have to rely on your opinion and the opinion of your assistant GM. You've probably been trading before, and if you're trading, you'll see sometimes that right here in the middle, if you add in players, let's do this. It tells you your assistant GM's opinion. It tells you the reaction of their GM, and there's a make this work now button. When you click this, it's going to tell you exactly what you can give for them to make this trade to go through. So if you go and you turn that off, or turn it on, sorry, you won't be able to see that. You won't have the make this work now button. The only way you'll get a response is you submit the trade, then the GM replies to you via email in your inbox. Use reputation system for human GM trading. I don't have that on. This here, I didn't touch. The trade deadline day limit, they have like a deadline day thing, and it's 4 minutes is what it was on, so that's what I left it. Player evaluation AI settings. I did change this. I can't remember exactly what it was on, but I changed it to, this is how much what the AI uses exactly, how much it weights their evaluation of players. I have this on 70, I have this on 25, and I have this on 5. I do obviously want them to prioritize ratings because that's more realistic. That's what I'm prioritizing it on, even if their stats are technically bad for the year. I'm making a trade or making a decision on ratings. But there's that, and after you do change this, be sure to hit apply changes now. Other AI settings, how you want the AI to build their lineups. They're traditional and they're sabermetric. Either one works. I just left it on traditional. Sabermetric could be cool though. Almanac, I touched nothing here. There could be some useful stuff in here if you're like trying to export things and import things and stuff like that, maybe, not sure. Database, touch nothing here. League settings, there's a lot, or sorry, this is actually everything we went through. No, it's not. Okay, yeah, there's a lot on this as well that you can do. You'd have to take your time and really go through it, but for the editors, you can customize anything as far as ballparks, the league structure, the league schedule, run a computer manager on all teams. You can clear all rosters. There's a lot of buttons in here that can do a lot of stuff with one click. Over here is import export functions, and you can use update player rating, use on live stats, expand league schedule, or league and schedule expansion draft. That is the button I used to set up the expansion draft and stuff. And you can also, I think somewhere under here, or it's going to be on leagues and teams. Yeah, so we'll hop over there next. But that pretty much tells you all this about what each function does. Right here, you can reset all injuries and IL status for everyone. Reset all fatigue, the morale, and so on. Bunch of buttons in here that do a lot of stuff with one click. Okay, leagues and teams. This is where you can adjust and edit your league structure, which is what I did after, of course, I added 2 new teams to the MLB. You can come in here and change the teams, what division they're in. This is where you can even change team names and their nicknames or abbreviation, what country they're in, all that thing. You can even rename divisions if you don't want it to be American League East anymore. Maybe you want it to be American League Southeast. You can change that right here. Over here, you can change the league appearance as a whole, the league colors, and the logo. Rules. Okay, so this is where it gets a little interesting as well. Let's say you want to go back to in the days where there was no DH for both teams. You just want it for, or for both leagues. If you just want it for one league, or you don't want the DH anymore, you want pitchers to be able to hit again, you would come in and untick these here to disable that. Starter pitcher can remain as DH when removed. This is if you have like two-way players like Ohtani, he would still be able to bat in the DH slot even if a reliever came in for him. A lot of this stuff I haven't changed, but so a lot of this stuff is default, but there's a lot of stuff here you can change for fun if you'd like, or if you want to experiment. This is, you can change reliever minimum batters face. This means a reliever, when he comes in, must face 3 batters before he can be taken out of the game. Modified extra innings, spring and regular season only. Allow ties, spring games only. So modified extra innings is where in the 10th inning, just like in real life, they allow a runner on second base instantly to try, and it's their way to try and speed up games that go into extra innings. This will not take effect, just like real life, in the postseason and playoffs, but it's on there. Allow ties, spring games only. This prevents unneeded injuries happening or people getting more fatigued because of extra inning games in spring. Active roster size, I left all this default. You can change it if you want your 40-man or active roster to be larger. Expanded roster size, I think around September-ish, I believe. The rosters, or maybe November, or no, yeah, around September. Rosters expand to 28 instead of 26. You can change this if you want that to be larger or smaller, or if you want it to not change at all, you can even set it down to 26. Expanded initial rosters. It used to be for the first like month or however long you wanted it to be, rosters would be larger than 26 and they would revert back to 26 at a certain point. I know it's kind of confusing, so I won't touch on it too much, but yeah, that's where you can change that. This is where you can change what day exactly the rosters expand to 28 players. Postseason roster eligibility, you can change exactly who are eligible. So as it's set now, this means everyone on your secondary roster will be eligible for the postseason for all playoffs, as long as they're on the 40-man. International complex limit, that is these players here. Mine's going to be empty because we're a brand new team. These are players that you sign in international amateur free agency, like the players that are like from 15 to 18 years old, or 19 even. And the players your scout discover throughout the year from other countries, they default to your international complex. So that's what that's talking about there. You can only have up to 50 in there with that setting. You can change it to as much as you want. Looks like it goes to a lot. Like, I'm still scrolling, so yeah, as you can see, it goes a lot. I'm gonna leave that on 50. International practice size, this is where you can invite these international amateur free agents I was talking about. Right now it's set to 10, so I can only invite 10 here, and it's going to run the practice for 10 people. If you want to be able to invite more than just 10, that's where you change that at. You can change it up to, I assume, 30. Yeah, it's 30. Next, spring training roster size. If you want this larger, you can make it larger or smaller right here. This is how many people can be on your spring training roster. Keep in mind, people on your spring training roster, it automatically invites everyone on your 40-man roster, but people on your spring training roster don't have to be on the 40-man. And this is if you want active roster player age minimum or maximums. 4 players on active roster limit is set to no limit. If you want, I know like in football / soccer in Europe, there's a lot of leagues where there's an foreign roster or foreign player roster limit. This is where you can do that. Enable military service requirements, I don't have that on. This is if you want to change how long a player can be on the IL, or how long it takes for a player to clear waivers, how long they're designated for assignment, things like that. I have this all default because I like to mimic real life. Minor league option years, I have that on. Maximum number of options in the season, all this is default, so it stays as relevant to real life as possible. I do have this ticked. Disable right to refuse minor league assignment. You'll get some guys, especially if they're like 30 plus years old, they've been in the league for a bit or so, you'll try to demote them down to AAA and they will refuse it, and then you're stuck in a hard spot where you release them and eat the money, or whatever it may be. I do have that disabled so I can send them down. Allow incomplete minor league rosters, and it has ghost players put there. So you may only have like 8 players on a minor league team, which is fine, but if you have this ticked, it'll generate ghost players just for the games, just so the team can still operate and have games. It's not actually giving you players. Roster AI with incomplete minors, that's what that means. or there's a little description for the tick box. This is a cool one too. A lot of people don't know about base minor league depth charts and pitching staff on. I have it on potential ratings. So my minor league managers, I want them when they build a roster, rather than so much as looking at how good a player currently is, I want them to look at the like 80 potential, 70, 60 potential guys. So let's say I draft my first round prospect, or my first round prospect from the draft. He comes in, he's only 20 overall currently, but his potential 60. Well, if there's somebody who's already been in the minors for a few years and his overall is 25 or 30, since his is technically higher, if I have it on current ratings, the manager will start that guy instead. I want him to be starting my younger, higher potential talent because I want them to get reps to develop. And that's where you can change that if you want it the other way around. Block fictional player from reaching minors. I do not have that ticked. This is where you can disable the Rule 5 draft if you want, and you can actually change the date that it runs. I do have it enabled, and I have the default schedule. Moving on to the trading. I have trading enabled, of course, but you can disable it, and you can change the trading deadline here. If you ever need to reference where exactly this stuff is, if I'm moving too fast, feel free to pause the video or look at the tabs I have selected to go back to this. Allowed trades with other major leagues. I don't have that on. This is if you have, like, I do have other leagues enabled from other countries. This is if you want to trade with them. Up next, we have the 10-to-5 rule. Veterans have right to veto trades. I do have that on. This you can actually change as well, trading of recently drafted players. This tells you like how quickly you can trade them. It was set to 1 year by default, so I have it on that. But if you want it to be next off season before they're allowed to be traded, you can do that. If you want them to be able to be traded, the prospects to be traded right away, you can put it on immediate. Up next, allow trading of injured players. This is going to be players with greater than 7 days of injury time left. You can tick that on. Allow waiver trades after deadline. You can change all this. If you want to be able to do draft pick trading like the NFL, NBA, other leagues, you can turn this on and you'll be able to trade your picks. Allow international amateur free agent cap trading. I have this off. This is right here, the budget that you can spend each year to sign these players I was talking about under this tab. You see they have demands. That is the money it's talking about being able to trade right here. So if you have that on, that money will become tradable. AI trading frequency, I have this on average. It may go up, it may go down if it's overkill. It'll be something I kind of adjust on the fly. Disable automatic creation of free agents. I don't have that ticked. The amateur draft, you can change the date of it. You can change how many rounds there are, but I do have everything default. Draft high school target percentage is 40%, generate players for X rounds. So even though the draft is 20 rounds, it's going to generate enough players for 30 just to be safe. Up next, we have the enable amateur draft combine. That references the feature they added this year before the amateur draft, which is cool. So I'm going to leave that on. This one's kind of important. I kind of just figured this one out. Enable advanced draftee signing bonus negotiations. So of course, you know, if you've done drafts in the past, by default it's on where you gotta negotiate with your draft picks. And speaking of, it was for rounds 5, all through rounds 5. I did change it to only round 3. This is the slot bonus baseline. You can change if you want. Now they added this use prospect promotion incentive rule. So I think this is talking about in real life now in the MLB. If a team has a player who wins rookie of the year, they get a draft pick incentive for having a player who wins rookie of the year, I think. But what's funny is if you turn this off, watch, this right here disappears. So I assume you have to have this on for this to go into effect since it disappears. I'm not sure. So we are going to roll with this on, even though it can be kind of annoying to have to sign your draft picks. I do want to see what this is all about and if it's what I was talking about. Allow major league deals for draft picks. Of course, that touches on the being able to do draft pick trading or not. Since we do have 2 expansion teams joining, us being one of them, I do have expansion teams draft first. That'll just be for this year, of course. It won't be for future years. And then this is the draft lottery that I have not touched at all. And if you want to change when that's revealed, it's right here in winter meetings. You can change the odds. You can type it in manually, or you can make all odds even, or you can, if you want to go back to the default MLB draft lottery setup, if you accidentally screw this up, just click that button there. Moving on to financials. I haven't touched anything on this screen, but I'll touch on some of what it means. You can change exactly, like if you want to mimic financials from a past year, you can change that here. It tells you exactly when. You can hover over it and then pick a specific year. So you're doing a historic save, so I can see that being valuable. This is if you want to do a lot more financial database stuff. If you want to change the attendance baseline, the ticket baseline, this is going to be the baseline numbers for the AI teams as well as yourself. Teams may change ticket price. I have that on. Visiting teams gate share percentage, 20%. You can change how much what percentage of the gate share revenue the visiting team gets. It's on 20. That was default, so I'm going to leave that. If you want that also to apply to other people's, other teams' season tickets, you can turn that on, but I didn't do that. If you want your league to have more like aggressive inflation, you can change that. I left it on 0 to 2, but this is where you would change that at. And this year I have not touched, but you can of course change this if you would like. This allows the players that come in from the other leagues you have activated, this will enable or disable that here. So all this is default. If you want to change how much a qualifying offers value is each offseason, this is where you change that as well. As far as service years and things of that nature, you also change that. This is more finances, of course. And this is where you can change salary baselines for superstar players, star players, good quality. I'm going to leave it all default because I think I'm just going to roll with that. And I'm scared of messing something up. If you don't want team owners to control a team budget, you come here and this is where you change that to no, all the revenue will be available, but I do have it on yes, because like I said, we're about mimicking real life. National media contracts are fixed. They'll be the same for every team. Moving on to options. Over here, I did disable an automatic evolution of the league. If you have it on, it will make all this stuff, if you have each one ticked, potentially happen on its own. It's not guaranteed. Don't know when it'll happen, but this stuff will happen. But I don't want that. I want to keep everything how I like it, so I disable that. Enable promotion and relegation for teams. As I touched on, football/soccer European leagues, they have a lot of pro rel leagues or promotion relegation leagues. You can actually set that up in baseball. Take this on and you got to change the database and all that good stuff. Here's the awards and the names of the awards if you want your own custom ones. I did change the offense by position player award name and the defensive award name. It's like Great Glove and Platinum Stick. I changed it to the real life names of Silver Slugger and Gold Glove. This is if you don't want the AI to be able to vote on awards or Hall of Fame. All this here I've left default, but if you want to change what is considered a milestone, you can change that here. If you want to change minimum service years and things like that for the Hall of Fame, you can change that there. Over here, if you don't want rainouts, for example, you can turn that off. If you don't want interleague play, you can turn that off. Over here is just a lot of schedule stuff in general. You can choose your exact what day you want opening day to be. You can choose how many games they play per year, or play per season, sorry. Auto adjust day, blah blah blah. Yeah, we're not worried about that. Schedule spring training. This is if you don't want spring training. If you do, you can change how many weeks there are. This is if you want to have an all-star game or not, or if you want it to be automatically scheduled. This is if you want to allow human managers to be able to vote. All-star game decides home field advantage for final playoff round. What this means is the World Series. They just didn't call it the World Series. If you turn that on, whichever team wins the All-Star game, NL or AL, that determines if the NL team or the AL team in the World Series will have home field advantage for the All-Star game. But I have that off. Force all teams to be represented at the All-Star game. This is on. This means there will at least be one player from each MLB team. I think it was on by default, so I left it on. But from each MLB team, at least have one All-Star player. If you don't want the DH in the All-Star game, you can turn it off. Old All-Star Prospects game. There is an All-Star game every year for the Prospects teams as well. This is where you turn that on or off. And a lot of this, of course, is very self-explanatory, as a lot of stuff I went over, but I like to touch on it just to be safe because I know a lot of people are brand new. Playoffs, this is if you want to disable them altogether, you can. I have used custom playoffs on and I customized it because I am an expansion league. We now have 4 divisions of 8 teams. Since we have 32 teams, I did have to change it up a little bit, but that's where you would do that. Up next, players. I don't touch this stuff, I just leave it on default, but this is for created players info. Default player origin, I don't touch that. Amateur draft origin, I don't touch that. Generate international amateur free agents, it's on the default of 128 per year. That is a pretty big chunk, but I think I'm gonna roll with it on default. Might go down in the future to maybe a few, but we'll have to see. This tells what date that you're allowed to start signing those players that we invited to the camp and stuff that I've referenced a few times. This is the showcase reveal date and things like that. This is the signing cap. If you want the cap to be higher or lower, you can change it here. If you want to round it off to 5 mil, you can. This is if you want to use a hard international amateur free agent cap or not. If you untick that, teams will be able to go over the 4.7 mil. This will determine international amateur free agent cap by revenue sharing if that is ticked. International scouting discoveries per team. I have this on default, which is 16 per year. I think it starts on 32, funny enough. Also, I apologize. You're probably about to hear sirens go by. I kind of live close to the city, so I'll have to cut that out if I have to. So I apologize for that. Yeah, I have this on default. Call it 32 seemed like a little overkill, but I mean, crank it up to 64 if you want. No judgment there. International established free agents. So this is each season during free agency. This isn't the young players. These are the players that are coming from other leagues, which actually shows you here and their origins, that are going to be available to be signed in the MLB. This is how many of those are generated per year. I have that on the default of 11. And then free agents from independent leagues. These are totally different. These are usually smaller, less prestigious leagues. But I have this on few 4 per year, which might have been default. Over here, I touched none of that at all. You can take your time to look through that if you would like, though. Stats and AI. I have this on very high detail. The historical year is 2025. If you want to import settings, you can choose the year exactly. This would be great for historical saves, or if you like a specific, more modern year, you can go back and it'll change all the tendencies from that year, and it'll make the game kind of sim and batters and pitchers operate from that era. Let's see. Typical starting rotation size. This is for the AI roster settings, how they'll handle stuff. 5-man, which is typical for real life, have it on that. Starting rotation mode. If you want them to always start the highest rested, you can come in here and take that. If you want them to have a strict rotation regardless of their fatigue ratings, you can put it on that. But yeah, I just have that on default. Starters and relief, no. A lot of this should be default for me. I don't think I've changed anything. Allow two-way players. You do want to have this ticked if you want the potential for more future Shohei Ohtanis to be allowed, and if you don't want to nerf Shohei Ohtani. If you turn this off, you will have to only do one or the other. This here as well, I haven't changed, but if you want to change, like in real life now, they have banned infield shifts. If you want to allow infield shifts again, you will come in here and put that on no. But everything here, this is changing tendencies or how quick or how slow something happens. So yeah, you can change that here. Hook meaning take out of the game. So relievers, since they have lower stamina, you don't want this to be a little more on the quick side. Over here, I have touched nothing at all, but you can actually select the year here and it will modify it to mimic that era. All right, so that was everything for the game settings. Finally, we now moved on to the manager options, which is just here. This is where you can change your manager's name, birthday, blah, 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 all that stuff, time zone. Something that is kind of valuable on this screen though is this here, autoplay options. If you turn on do not disturb, the AI will handle your team and you will not be interrupted during autoplay. So let's say you're sending a whole month. If you turn that on, and then you won't be stopped for every injury, trade inquiry, blah, blah, all that stuff. Like the AI will handle that. Exit autoplay. This is whenever you can customize when you're simming those days, like a bigger chunk of time, like if you're simming a week, you can customize exactly what it will stop you for right here. Over here, you can change if you be fired or not. I do have that off since we're using an expansion team. I have it on, sorry, where I cannot be fired. Right here, you can change your role if you want to be manager and GM or just GM. And then this is the player commissioner mode. If you tick this, you'll see I can now change this. If you tick this though, you can do a lot more. You can edit players, you can edit budgets out of the specific time period where you're only allowed to edit them. If you have this on, you can edit them anytime. There's a lot of things you can do in commissioner mode. You'll see here, like, you control other teams, change all the rules, edit players. It can be good to fix bugs or something you just really hated or a dumb injury. You can have this on. So don't be scared to come in here and tick this on if you need to. Team control settings. This is where you customize exactly what you control and what you let the AI control. I do have all of this on myself, including minor league promotions, demotions, which I'm going to be getting a video out about how I go about promoting and demoting players. The only thing I don't control and leave to my minor league managers is them setting the depth charts, the minor league player strategies, and minor league player development focus. Something to touch on with that, assuming, like, let's just go to the AAA team just because this guy here, Omar, AI will be able to mess with this. But if I want to come in and adjust it for a specific prospect and I don't want the AI to touch it anymore, I could change it around and then tick prevent AI from adjusting focus for Omar. They'll never touch it. Only I can do it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Going back now. Yeah, so there's that. Here you can configure your continue button. If you click this, I think you can control exactly whenever you click continue where it's going to take you to, instead of having to hit play and choose a specific date. If you continue, I think you can just set your continue button up by default. And then this is where you can quit your current job. All that was under manager options. League settings, we touched on. Team settings. This is where you can change teams' names, abbreviations, things like that. You can change the nation they're in, you can change the city they're in, and then something kind of cool a lot of people don't know about is background picture. So you'll notice mine says this here, ignore that, but if you go select file, it's going to default to this file path. Okay, so if you want a background to begin with, you have to put the background in this file path. You will follow this in your documents folder, get to here, and you'll place the pictures there, and then they'll show here. So I do have some for the Raleigh Oaks. Right now I'm on the default, as you notice back there. If I put it on this one, this now becomes the background. I'll put it on. There's some more in here that's pretty cool. The dark green I kind of like. That one I'm not a massive fan of, and then this one's white, so I apologize for the flashbang there. But for me to go back to the basic, I have to put it on readme text. Now let's say I was on this one, right, and I don't want it to be transparent. If you come in here, I said we were going to go back on this earlier on interface, and then semi-transparent background, it's on yes because you can see through it. You can put this on no, and then you have to actually click to another screen. All right, let me go over here. I have to actually click to another screen. I noticed it didn't change this time. Oh, it's on yes. Put it on no. Yeah, okay. There we go. Now it makes it like this instead, and it's not a see-through, so it's a bit more legible while these colors are still there. But yeah, so again, that's under team settings, and then this is where you would change it. But we'll go back to this for now for the sake of the video. I don't want to mess with your guys' eyes. So yeah, that pretty much covers all of these settings in Out of the Park 26. If you guys have any cool settings or changes you'd like to make to your leagues, be sure to put those down in the comments below so others and myself can learn from them. As well, if you have any questions, feel free to ask and I will try to reply as quick as possible and help you out. If you guys do enjoy these type of tutorial type videos, be sure to let me know in the comments and by clicking the like button. It helps boost the video for myself and the YouTube algorithm, so other OOTP viewers can find my videos. So that would help a ton and it would mean a lot. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching and I will catch you in the next one.